Good evening and welcome to the 100 Club. We are here once again to discuss the 100 and continue our almost long running, I think we're nearly halfway through now, series of squad profiles. This evening we will be looking at the London Spirit, joined by my ever faithful duo, Oli.
Hello.
And Rich.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Tom, and it's been, again, another busy few days in cricket. Currently just finishing off a Women's One-Day International. Hope to bring you the result live at the end of this video. Tune in for that if you have.
when you stay live, it'll then be about 24 hours out of date by the time we post it. But
do you want an update, Tom? Do you want an update?
8 yeah, go on, hit me.
7 required off 22 balls.
Oh, it won't even be the end of the video.
Should be home and hosed.
Yeah, but if you are watching this and you have access to no other media, well, we'll keep you posted. And what's more, you'll need some more media in your life. So do subscribe, comment, like, etc. We'd appreciate that. We're here to talk cricket, of course. The women's squad for the London Spirit. So playing out of Lords, and I see we've all got our collars on. That's very good.
Yeah, our red trousers.
Of course, sir. But a squad that looks pretty good on paper. What do you think, Rich? How do you find them?
I think it looks a pretty solid squad. Some significant experience there. I look at the likes of Heather Knight, Deandra, Dottin, Tammy Beaumont, who we'll touch on a bit more in a minute. I see some, very experienced players, and I think they look quite well balanced.
Yeah. And what do you think the star player then, gone? Who's the star player out of that lot?
So I just mentioned her briefly then. I'm going to go with England's Tammy Beaumont. She is currently the number 1 ranked one-day international batter in the world. She didn't get a score today, but before today, she'd scored 4 consecutive half-centuries. Pretty good in the T20 format as well. She has just a shy under 1,500 runs in the format. And with the T20s coming up against India in a few weeks' time, I think she's likely to go through that. She's a very experienced player. She's kind of reinvented herself when she came into the side. She was more of a kind of middle order player with wicketkeeper, originally deputising for Sarah Taylor, but she's kind of turned herself into a specialist opening bat. And what I really like about her as a player is she can absolutely play all around the wicket. When she hit 87 the other day against India, she scored 38 of her runs on the offside and 49 of her runs on the leg side. Incredibly well balanced. She was scoring all across the wicket, which makes her very dangerous in short format cricket as well. So genuine star, top of her game, and I think she's going to go really well in the 100. Yeah,
and a proper cricketer can find the gap, and as you say, that's intensely valuable in the short format. Do you think she'll keep?
No, I don't think she'll keep for the Spirit. I think Amara Carr will pick up the gloves, but we'll touch on that when we go through the 11 in a minute. Maybe Oli has different ideas.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
I've got her keeping in my 11, but more on that later. We'll agree to
there will be. I'll be on selector duties tonight, so keep your powder dry. This is another team which is going to be coached by, again, an experienced coach within the women's game, but someone who hasn't got a vast playing experience in themselves. That's Trevor Griffin. So he's going to be making the real life selection duties come game day. Trevor Griffin, interesting case, because up to 2007, he was working in a building society, doing a little bit of coaching locally around Devon, around the University of Exeter, places like that, Ottery St Mary, club game. Very low level, and essentially had a bit of an epiphany, a bit of a moment, and moved to New Zealand, took up the coaching full time, and has run with it ever since, and to increasingly successful proportions, coaching Sydney down in the Women's Big Bash League, and now coming over to the Sunrisers as well. And that was seen as a coup for them to get him as the coach, and he's taken that now through with the London Spirit as their coach. So he's going to know a lot of these players. We've seen it in the other formats, the regional hubs. He's going to be up against some people that he knows as well. So he's going to know both the friendly side and the enemy side, and we'll see how he gets on. But he's got some decent weapons. And as usual with these women's teams, there is a good spattering of youth in there as well. So I don't know who you've picked out, Oli, on the younger side.
So I'm can talk a little bit about Sophie Monroe. She's right arm medium pace bowler. Very young, very not got a whole heap of experience. But quite a few of these squads have got some younger players in that kind of you kind of think might just be there kind of just to be part of the setup and kind of get some experience. But looking at kind of the balance of the squad, if there's going to be some pitches that kind of require a bit of seam up bowling, I think there's a reasonable chance that Sophie Monroe could play a reasonable amount of games in this tournament for the Spirit. I say she's not played a lot of games before now, but when you kind of look down the possible squads, the Spirit have got Freya Davis, who can be one of the first names on the team sheet. I imagine she'll be taking the new ball. Deandra Dottin, also very good, fast medium bowler. But beyond that, they've then got a number of sort of batting all rounders, and sort of their more experienced batting all rounders tend to bowl off spin. So if they come across some slightly greener top wickets that going to take a bit of steam, and they kind of want a third pace bowler, then I kind of feel that Sophie Monroe probably get a bit of a game, and will probably get a bit more experience, which will probably be quite good for her. She's taken a few wickets that they've played.
She was in action at the weekend for the Lightning in the first round of the Charlotte Edwards Cup. Looked pretty useful, generating a bit of pace, bowling some good in swing.
But there's a feature of the women's game generally is I think you'll see a lower proportion of seam and quicker bowling. I anticipate that carrying through to the 100. I don't know whether you think there's an opportunity there for some of these younger fast bowlers.
Yeah, I think I still think that you can in all of these teams you're going to want variation.
Yeah,
and I don't think you can just go into a game just having one or two pace options and then just a whole team of off spinners.
Yeah,
you want to change it up at some point.
And what we do know
even if you're not bowling, even if you're not bowling 20 balls, you might just want to get in there and get just to mix it up with somebody who can just come on bowl or 5 or 10.
It's an interesting point. We've just seen India go into the second one-dayer with only 2 quicks, Pandey and Goswami. And, they were in the game for a while, but ultimately England, spoiler alert, have knocked off the runs relatively easily. And watching that game tonight, you felt like they could have done with an additional pace option in the attack.
Yeah. And I mean, they were playing at Sapphire Garden. County Ground Taunton tonight, weren't they? So that's fine. But if you're playing at Lords, like the London Spirit will be playing 50% of the time, you might want someone to use the slope a bit. You can see the ball move up the slope or away from a batter quite nicely with a bit of pace, and that can often cause a lot of problems for someone who's not experienced playing in that on that pitch.
Absolutely.
So we'll see how they get on. So let's have a think about how they might line up if we can. I don't know, Ollie, who have you got in your opening batting combo?
So I've got Tammy Beaumont opening, and I imagine Rich does too. I've got her opening with Deandra Dottin. I think those two will open up.
And it's worth saying about Deandra Dottin. I mean, that's a world superstar in the women's game, supremely powerful. Do you think she's going to be batting with all-out power going from the first ball, or do you think there'll be a sort of an innings-building element to how she approaches this?
Well, I wonder whether they'll. I sort of imagined that if they were going to have one person to go out and try and strike the ball, kind of from ball one, it would probably be Dottin, and Beaumont would kind of play around her, would look to kind of bat, perhaps the longer innings and play less of a power game and more about just going around finding the gaps and playing it sort of 360 cricket. As Rich said earlier in his intro, for Tammy Beaumont can do that, and I think that would be her game. Whereas they might just try and get Dottin to go out and try and hit some boundaries early on.
Yeah, Dottin smashed 31 today against Pakistan in the T20 International. 2 4s, 2 6s. Yeah, I think she'll be dealing in the boundaries early on. I think Beaumont's got the power to hit, but as you say, I think she's more conventional, and she'll look to sort of maybe bat 60, 70 balls into the innings to set it up.
And does that mean you've got them on the opening pair as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a no-brainer.
So who are you following up with?
So I had Heather Knight coming in at 3, England captain. I think very kind of astute cricketer, quite, can play different ways. I think if she comes in very early, she could take advantage of the power play. A bit later, she can rotate the strike. So I would take advantage of her experience there. And then 4, 5 is sort of 6 is an interesting one. I decided to go with Eilish Cranstone at 4 because she opens the batting in the T20s. So I thought we'll take advantage of her being relatively high up the order so she can bring her power game to bear there, and also he's kind of useful at all-round option. And then follow it with Deepti Sharma, the off-spinning all-rounder at 5, and then Chloe Tryon, who's a bit more of a finisher, kind of the big hitting South African at 6. That's how I sort of saw the bulk of the batting lineup.
Yeah. Any disputes with that, Ollie?
I've got those 3 coming in next as well. I had them in a slightly different order. I think.
Do you think there's a bit of the foreign star getting pushed up the order effect here?
Yeah, I think I was having it as Sharma, then Tryon, I think, and then Cranston. But it's that's probably a bit harsh on Cranston, given given, as you say, she has been opening the batting as well. But I think it's kind of, that feels like the middle order is going to be those probably those 3. You could probably back them in any order, really.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'll leave it like that for now, but open competition.
If I could just make a comment, I think we touched on in one of our earlier videos about strategy, and I think when we do these 11s, we think in terms of the batting order. But I think what might happen in the 100 is, rather than we think of batting orders in terms of 1 to 11, it's actually going to be a little bit more like who's going to come in at ball 20, who's going to come in at ball 50, who's going to come in at ball 70. So if a team finds them, say the London Spirit found themselves like 2 wickets down after 70 balls, at that point I would say send in Chloe Tryon, for the last gasp. Whereas if they find themselves 2 down in the first over, then it's like, okay, well, maybe Deepti Sharma comes in that situation. Yeah. So I think the sides will be a bit fluid depending on when the wickets are falling.
Absolutely, and you know what? These are just our vehicle for talking about it. But I absolutely agree with you. I mean, Trevor Griffin, I'm sure, will have his finger on the game management, and I think that is game management, as you say. Who's up next in 7? As it? Sorry, yeah, are we on 7? 7 as it stands. Who we got? Rich. Go on. Go on.
Well, I was going to say I was going to then put in a sort of pair of batting all rounders, really. So I had Naomi Dottin and Daniel Gibson as my next pair. Again, bowl a bit of medium pace as well as being I think really sort of more batting all rounders.
Yeah, well, that's got us down with 7 all-rounders in a row, as the 100 website has it. And we kind of didn't mention it, but Eilish Cranston apparently, can bowl a reasonable, fast left arm, I think it is, but hasn't had much experience. So I sometimes think their descriptions are a little bit generous, but there you go. Yeah. Plenty of options. Rich, what do you reckon to that?
I'd agree with that. I had Susie Rowe ahead of Danny Gibson, just for sort of the experience of her. But I think it's kind of a toss-up, and I can actually see both of them getting game time during the tournament, depending on how they perform.
Susie Rowe had 5 years out of the game, I think, didn't she? Is that right? And has sort of returned.
Yeah, that's right. So I think she's 33 now, but brings that experience to have a gap out of the game. But I think she's listed there as a batter on the 100, but I think she's an all-rounder according to Cricinfo.
You can't win.
Just when we thought we'd found an out-and-out batsman.
Well, sorry, Susie. We'll give you a pause for now. So let's have a look at the tail. Who's up next?
So I had Amara Carr coming in as a keeper batter. I think she'll come in at number 8. And then my bowling options would be Charlie Dean and Freya Davies.
Interesting.
So Charlie Dean, very talented spinner. Freya Davies, quick bowler. And
no place then for Ollie's rising star, Sophie Monroe. Ollie, so I presume you're going to challenge that, are you?
Yeah. So I was going to give gloves to Tammy Beaumont. So Carr would miss out in my first 11, and I was also going to have Hannah Jones in actually for Charlie Dean.
Okay, not the Hannah Jones who we've seen playing for the Manchester Originals, of course. This is completely different.
No, she's not. You're not doubling up.
No, okay. I can see the sorry, let's put it this way. I don't see the benefit necessarily of having Amara Carr in as a keeper down at 8. If you're going to have a batting keeper, then you're going to have that higher in the order.
I think the challenge there is I'm not sure when Tammy Beaumont last kept. She hasn't kept for a few years at least. So whether she'd be happy doing that job or not. Amara Carr. Mara Keeper would be a good name, wouldn't it? Amara Carr she's not a specialist keeper in the sense that she can't bat. She's no slouch with the bat either. So I think that many spinners in the team. I want somebody who's been keeping day in, day out. And Charlie Dean, I'm picking on form. She was exceptional at the weekend. She's on a good run at the minute. I think she deserves the starting spot ahead of Hannah Jones.
Yeah, well, I'll take the Hannah Jones argument.
We're going to be plugging the field well. How many have we got on the pitch?
Well, we did have 13 there. I've dropped Hannah Jones, and I'm afraid I'm actually gonna keep. I like your Monroe logic. Let's give the youngster a chance and put it in that way. But that's going to ask quite a lot of people to play multi-role. But I do think that's going to be a common feature of the 100 squads. As is often said in some cases at the moment, you can't just be one thing in this game. So you do need to be multi-talented. And clearly, beyond batting and bowling, there's also the keeping element. And I'll profess I'd want to know a bit more about who's going to be able to field in the specialist positions around the pitch as well on some of those players. So Beaumont, Dottin, Knight, Sharma, Cranston, Tryon, Dottin, Gibson, Carr, Davis, Monroe getting the nod right now, but I feel that there's plenty of competition in there.
Looks like a pretty strong top order. I think one of the good batting lineup. Yeah.
So where are they weaker? I mean, who's how are they comparing to some of the other squads we've looked at so far?
Well, my question is about the pace options, which is why I put Monroe in. But obviously that's putting a lot of potentially workload on very young shoulders. So I don't know. I do wonder if they've got quite enough pace bowling.
Yeah,
I think quality, not quantity, for me. I think in Davies and Dottin, I think they've got two very good quicks, and I think they've got some very good bowling around that as well. I wonder about maybe it's the power in the lower middle order. If they lose a flurry of wickets late on, who are the people to find the boundaries? But could be well wrong about that. But I like the experience up top. I think there's going to be some canny cricketers, and they're going to be well led by Heather Knight, England T20 captain.
Kind of feels like
go on.
It feels like if they don't lose wickets, then kind of like the top 3 or 4 are kind of facing most of the 100 balls, then they could be putting on some pretty big scores.
Absolutely, that's what I was going to say there. I think that batting lineup at the top could be better than anything we've seen so far, in my opinion. I think so. We'll see how it gets on. I mean, it's up between them and the Southern Braves for me at the moment in terms of the sort of ranking on the women's squads. But we're only halfway through. We've got another 4 to do. keep with it. But we're learning plenty, and I'll keep that team, see how it turns out in the first game, which is when for the London Spirit. Anyone got that to hand?
That's going to be on the 25th, which I think is the Sunday.
The Sunday.
Lords is going to be a double-header against the Oval Invincibles, with the women's game at 11 and the men's game at 2:30.
North versus South of the river. Marvelous.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Grudge match.
Yeah.
Grudge match. Is that one you're going to, Rich?
I am. Yeah, I have tickets for me and my family. I'm going to be heading along to that one.
Exciting. But your allegiances lie north with the London Spirit. Is that right?
That's right. I've adopted the London Spirit as my team, growing up a couple of miles away from Lords, but not being a Middlesex fan, strangely. So I've never really supported a team playing out of Lords other than England, of course. So it's going to be quite nice having my local team to go and watch during the 100.
Yeah. And that's kind of the point, really, with the city-based format, isn't it? It needs to be. It's close to lots and lots of people. So, draw your lines across the city, and put your hard hat on for when Deandra Dottin is batting, and see how you get on.
Well, handily, nature has helped us out there and drawn a big blue line across London.
Oh yeah. You can guess who the tourist is when he goes to London. Oh well. I should just remember what the EastEnders opening credits look like. Okay, so exciting times for you. I trust that'll be a fantastic day. We've also seen today the BBC have announced their schedule. 18 matches going to be live on free-to-air telly over here in the UK. If you're not watching over here, then there's going to be plenty of the games, including I think all of the women's games on YouTube. So be able to keep up to date with the games live there, and hopefully you'll stick along with us as well as we preview the rest of the squads and then get into the live coverage itself, giving our reactions. So do let us know what you think down below. Give us a like, please, and a subscribe just to keep in touch, and then we'll always be in your feed, I promise. Until then, Ollie, Rich, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. We'll have a lovely evening, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.
Bye.